All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host for today's broadcast, Insane Layer 13. I apologize for the delayed start for commentary, as we are already on the pace lap. Your pole sitter for today's race is Maybe Racing. A lot of people anticipated it would be Scored Buffalo, who would beat out on the pole again, but no, it is Maybe Racing. So, while he had a very slow start to the season, Maybe is back on the championship hunt, the championship trail. We're looking at a 13-car grid for today's event. Real quickly, let's look at the championship standings as they are right now coming into today's event. I'll try to make this real short and just focus on the drivers in the top 10 positions, since those are the ones who are most likely going to actually have an impact as the season continues. In 10th is Thomas 086R. He has 72 points on the season. In 9th is 2Fuzzball 4267. He has 73 points. In 8th is Amish Gaming 23. He has 79 points. In 7th is Pindaz with 84 points. He's the lowest of everyone who has shown up to every race this season. In 6th is GRPK Golden with 99 points. In 5th is Prius Killer 8110. He was last week's winner. In 4th is NFL Racer 4812. He has 115 points. In 3rd is Claiming Racer 56. Claiming not showing up for last week's event, not showing up for today either, so he is still at 124, but is basically guaranteed to lose that. And then your two championship contenders. Second place is Maybe Racing. He has 136 points at this stage of the season. And your championship leader, who has led the championship since the start of the green flag of the first race of the season, is Scored Buffalo, but he only has 148 points. He still holds the lead over Maybe Racing, but it's only by 12 points. If, heaven forbid, Scored Buffalo loses out on another good points day by virtue of a disconnect, Maybe Racing will likely overtake him, despite the fact that Maybe has not yet finished higher than third. Now, he has had 4 third-place finishes over the 6 races he has run. Remember also, though, this is a drop round championship. There will be one result of points dropped from everybody. Scored Buffalo has already served his drop round. Maybe Racing has not yet. So Maybe has to not just catch Scored Buffalo's points total, but overtake it. And just like last week at Road America, is our two championship leaders who are going to be starting the race on the front row, but this time it is Maybe on pole, and Scored is the one in second. It is PTG Neb and NFL Racer third. Prius, who won last week's race, is starting way farther down the field, and we are already underway. Green flag is a very short run as they use the alternate start-finish line, then fire it down into turn number 3 and 4 here. Immediately, Maybe cleared Scored Buffalo. Neb got ahead of GRPK Golden. NFL Racer, who is off of his best finish thus far this season with a second, has slipped to 4th right now ahead of Golden. Prius is already up into the 6th spot, but having a little bit of trouble dealing with 2Fuzzball right behind him, so he is the meat in the sandwich that is the GRPK teammates. Pindaz is back there in 8th, Amish in 9th, Sea Potato 10th, Big Block 11th, King Racing Leo 12th, and Dr. Pepper is back there in 13th. So in this race last season, this was the race that Maybe ended up missing mid-season. And also in that race, we saw Scored Buffalo and Claiming Racer both start dead last, and just with sheer pace alone, blew the doors off of everyone. Both Scored and Claiming were about 1.5 to 2 seconds a lap faster than everyone else in the field in that race. And the only reason the entire field didn't go a lap down is because those two drivers had started near the rear of the grid. Today, the two fastest drivers, Maybe and Scored, objectively right at the front of the grid, objectively way faster than the rest of the field. Again, we're only about one full racing lap in, and already they have both pulled a second on PTG Neb. Now, the lap times here are still over a minute long, but if there's anything that should happen to the likes of Neb or NFL today, there is a very distinct possibility that Maybe and Scored could put the entire field a lap down today. And when we talk about that, there's one other thing that needs to be mentioned with that. Yes, FEC has blue flag rules, but this track, more than any other, blue flag rules aren't really going to help the leaders. Because if the leaders are quite literally a second or 2 seconds a lap faster than you, it will not matter if you pull over or not, because you're just going to immediately be caught by somebody else in the twisty section. And in the twisties, basically from the end of the back straightaway all to the final corner, there's not really anywhere to safely pull over for more than a single car. And even pulling offline for just a single car is very difficult, as that's someone who got way sideways back there. That was NFL, who got into the dirt coming out of the final quarter, and that's GRPK Golden, who's gonna slip right by NFL in the process. And now Prius Killer is gonna get a chance to try and start running down on NFL, depending on how this goes. So Golden now moves up in the 4th position. But as I was saying, lap traffic, it's going to be very hard to navigate. You're basically going to have to beat them on the runs onto the one long back straightaway, and then the short start-finish straight, and the semi-long straight between the start-finish straight and the back straightaway. There's really only two places to make moves, and there you are. You see NFL Racer has just gone by Prius Killer with no issue whatsoever. So Prius scoots ahead of NFL right now. Now Prius is already 3.3 seconds out from the lead. A lot of people thought, well, he should be, another lock for a second row start. But in his qualifying lap in the second big session, Prius slid off circuit in the middle of Sector 2, just before you get into Sector 3, and ended up dirtying his lap, so he was only relegated to an 8th place starting spot. Absolute anarchy going on near the rear of the grid here. This is Pindaz along with Stinky Potato and Big Block all on top of each other, trying to make moves side by side on parts of the track that objectively you cannot go side by side at and maintaining any hope or any prayer of speed. And it's decisions and issues like this that usually lead to drivers going so many laps down so quickly in anything that's basically not professional IndyCar races here. And it's not just IndyCar. The same thing applies when you look at GT races. The same thing applies when you look at the handful of times that NASCAR has come here back before, well, anytime they would have had long enough, green flag runs between yellows, it would have applied to that as well. The circuit is very lap time intensive, and a small difference in ability or a small difference in setup can absolutely make or break your ability to do anything here. This is not really a circuit that you can make a lot of overtakes on merit. In fact, I would argue that on all circuits on the schedule, outside of Sunset Peninsula Roval, this circuit is probably the hardest, definitely top 2 hardest, if not the absolute hardest to make an overtake on driver merit and driver skill. Almost all of your overtakes will come off of pit sequences, and if they're not off the pit sequences, they're off of the driver ahead making a mistake. You can be faster than the driver ahead, but unless you are a second or 2 seconds a lap faster, like what we saw scored and claiming do last season, it will not matter. You will not be able to make moves because there is nowhere on track to make clean, safe moves, and even making dirty moves is much more risk than reward here. Credit to PTG Neb, he is staying within about 3 seconds of our leaders. So we have done about 5 racing laps, and PTG Neb is about 2.5 to 3 seconds out, so he's only losing about half a second a lap. That pace would be good enough to bring home a 3rd place result for him if he can keep it together. Farther back, this is Prius Killer, running behind NFL, who is running behind GRPK Golden. Again, Prius feels that he should be farther up the grid, but with overtaking being just nearly impossible, he's going to have to either get off sequence or hope that one or both these drivers make a mistake. And therein lies the other problem. The FEC IndyCar races are designed that strategy does not apply. There is, frankly, no strategy whatsoever in the FEC IndyCar races because the race links are perfectly curated to make all events very simple 2-stop affairs. Sometimes you'll get 1-stop affairs, but they're almost always simple 2-stop affairs. Now, that gets randomized if you get yellow flags, but if it's green flag to flag, like what we saw last weekend at Road America, there's not really a lot of room for strategy playing around, and even if there is, the pace often is big, the pace gaps in the field are often big enough to negate that, but here today, it does not look like the pace gaps are going to be big enough to negate that in the midfield. Yes, maybe a score are going to destroy everybody else, that is the default in FEC, but for everyone else, it does not look like the pace difference throughout the rest of the field is going to be enough to really let somebody just outrun the drivers around. They are going to have to either make the drivers overdrive, over-defend, and make a mistake, or catch them during a pit stop sequence. There is, frankly, no other way to overtake here. Your only options are beating them on a pit stop sequence, which is borderline impossible with the way FEC sets up their races, which the focus is more on the racing ability. They are not interested in having strategy calls decide the races. And the only other option is hoping the driver ahead makes a mistake. So you look at this little scenario here, the only reason Golden got back ahead of NFL is you saw it a few laps ago. NFL had that big slide coming out of the final corner, and now NFL, he's caught right behind Golden. And I think NFL may be a little bit faster than Golden, but it's just not going to matter. If Golden is smooth and Golden can keep his mistakes to a minimum, then there's just nothing that NFL is going to be able to do. And as I say that, NFL goes wide into the dirt, coming out of turn 1, now down to turn 2. Here comes Prius. He's going to get to the outside. But because this is basically a hairpin that is descending, it's not like you can jump to the outside and then squeeze the guy in. But look at that. NFL really too cautious on exit and gave Prius the line coming out. Prius on the suboptimal outside line did it, all because NFL made a mistake and Prius lunged. And then NFL continued to be very reserved, very pulled back, did not really want to make any big defensive moves. Didn't try diming the corner or anything, and Prius, with the superior traction on the extreme outside line, just outran NFL. And that's NFL off again already, so very obvious that the driver who came home second last week at Road America absolutely having a nightmare time here, a circuit that is basically Road America's polar opposite. He's already at the 30% tire wear mark right now. Real quick, let's look at the tire wear for everyone in the field. This is your leader, Maybe Racing, who has pulled on Scored Buffalo quite a bit. He is at 33% in the tires right now. We look at Scored Buffalo, who has actually slipped back to PTG Neb's clutches. He is at 35% tire wear right now. PTG Neb, who runs in the third spot, 34%, but he has a little bit less fuel in the tank. The GRPK Golden, who's now fourth, 33%, but he's got a tiny bit of engine damage that's not going to help him. Prius, who is now focusing on him, he is at 37%, so Prius burning his tires a little more than the drivers ahead. To Fuzzball, who was gotten by NFL, he's at 36%. He's still got a full fuel tank, so Fuzzball has more pace that he's not revealed yet. NFL, after that big slide, he's at 37%. He also has a full fuel tank, so he'll probably shorten up pit stops later. This is Amish. He's only at 21%. He is running 8th right now. So he is the highest driver who is not on the softer compound tire. And if you can go about 8 laps on the soft compound tire to get to 33%, realistically, you could probably go about 16 laps on those soft tires. And then continue to stretch it out from there. If you can go about 16 laps on the softs, then the next pit stop would be at lap 32. After that would be 48. So this looks like we may have a few more pit stops today than normal if the soft tires are only going to last you about 16 laps. You could do, that also would imply that the mediums will last you about 24 laps in that scenario. So you could potentially make it a medium soft race today. Run one stint on the mediums and the other 2 stints on the softs. Another option would be to run 2 mediums and 1 soft, just to make sure you don't have any major tire fall off. And if you spend a lot of time in clean air without finding other people around you on track, that may be a legit option. For these drivers, it's not going to be. This is Stinky Potato, Pindaz, Big Block, all hanging out at the bottom of the top 10 right now. Scored Buffalo's already pulled away from PTG Neb, but the gap between himself and Maybe has still opened up to 2.2 seconds. So while we were looking farther back at the likes of NFL Racer, we seem to have missed whatever has caused Scored Buffalo to slip back a bit. But again, Scored leads the points coming into today. Now Maybe is guaranteed 1 point bonus point for the pole position. If he wins and Scored Buffalo comes home second, Maybe would bring home 11 points more than Scored. So that points advantage that Scored would have would collapse to just a single point. That's if the top 2 finish where they are right now. But again, if that goes the other way, if Scored catches Maybe, overtakes him somehow, say Maybe isn't able to manage traffic, as we see Big Block hit the inside wall there through turn 1. If Maybe hiccups, coughs, while they navigate through traffic and Scored Buffalo goes back through, then you'll see a scenario where Scored Buffalo opens the points gap against Maybe by 9 points. So continue to watch this here as Pindaz seems to be losing ground slowly yet surely on Stinky Potato right now. And Scored is already back down to less than 2 seconds out from Maybe. So there's no doubt in my mind Scored Buffalo is the faster of these 2 drivers. Now in single lap pace in both rounds of qualifying, Maybe outscored Buffalo. Not by much, but it doesn't have to be by much to get pole. PTG Neb hangs out in 3rd position. 4th is still GRPK Golden, but he is now being harassed by Prius Killer. Again, Prius is the other driver along with NFL looking to try and make a lunge, and that is Pindaz pinning already at the 12th lap. Mind you, we have basically a lap and a half here under pace speed, so he's really only gone about 10.5 laps on those tires, and that's Golden who dropped tires into the dirt. That's the mistake that Prius did, and Prius shoots by into the 4th position now. So mistakes giveth and mistakes taketh away as Golden goes wide coming out of the hairpin on the most important straightaway, the most important section of the circuit for offense and defense, and Prius goes right by. Again, not really driver skill by the overtaker. It's all about just a compromise and mistake by the driver who was ahead, who then falls behind. So now Prius goes in the 4th spot. Now the big thing is, though, Prius is burning his tires up faster than the other cars around him. So that is going to be something to keep an eye on today. Again, we anticipate this will be a 2-stop race with one of your stints ideally being on the mediums, and that's Prius who goes wide, coming out of the final corner, and Golden gets back by him on the inside in turn 1. But then Prius turns in very aggressively coming out of turn 1, and Golden stepped a bit wide. Golden on the inside, Prius on the outside, side by side. Prius made this move on NFL work earlier, but I don't think he's got the grip to make it stick on Golden. No, Golden gets right back by Prius now. Bit of a twitch and slide, and now here comes Prius. He's going to get back to the inside of Golden. Side by side, neck and neck again for these two. So a mistake by one, a mistake by other. Prius has the inside line coming in, the heaviest break-ins on the circuit. Golden on the outside, but he has to back out. Prius goes back to the point. Golden tries to close in just a little bit. Can't really do anything there. And Prius goes back to 4th. Right now, these drivers are losing roughly 1 second a lap to our leader, Maybe Racing, who is cruising for the moment, but he is about to catch traffic. That is Keen Racing Leo ahead. And for Keen Racing Leo, being caught by traffic on lap 14 of a 56-lap race, you're basically on track to get lapped 3 times, if not 4 times, over the events of today's race. And that's Racing Leo going right off in the hairpin. Deep off into the dirt. His tires are cooked. He's already at 51% wear, so he burnt up those tires way more than anticipated. This is Maybe. We look at his tires. He is at 57% right now. Scored Buffalo, who runs in 2nd, 60%, and he's got a bit of engine damage as well, so Maybe seems to be doing a little bit better job managing his tires. I think he is trading in pace for tire management. This is Neb in 3rd, 58%. So again, the slower your drivers are, it seems like the better they are at managing their tires. Golden back in front of Prius. He's at 57% wear right now. Prius, we know he's going to be at about 60%, 63%. So the fact that Prius is still holding up with Golden, even with his tires being so much more cooked, is really impressive. Then behind him is NFL, who is now being harassed by Fuzzball. Actually, he's gotten by Fuzzball. He's at 63% also, but he's had some big offs, and that has scored Buffalo and Neb. Scored Buffalo and Neb pit on lap 15 overall. So they're saying the soft tires can really only reliably last 15 laps. And mind you, that's closer to 14 laps because we had that lap and a half of pace at the start. So if the soft tires for those guys are only able to last you 14 laps, well, that means that the mediums will only last you about 21 laps. You do the math, 21 plus 21, that'll get you to 42. And then you need about 15 more. Yeah, this is still a 2-stop race. I think this just makes it solidly a medium soft. You want 2 stints on the mediums and 1 stint on the softs. And Maybe right now still out here on what we believe are softer compound tires. He's got 62% on his tire life right now, but nearly the entire field has already made their first pit stop. The only exceptions are Maybe Racing, Amish Gaming, and Stinky Potato. And after that was done, Scored Buffalo actually sees PTG Neb close in on him a little bit. Not enough to directly fight with him, but it does seem like Buffalo had a little bit longer stop than anticipated. Now Maybe Racing coming into the pit this time. Maybe has led every lap in this race thus far. But Scored Buffalo has clean air ahead, but he does have to look at the mirror behind. Maybe had clean air on his in lap. So where is the difference going to be between Maybe and Scored as they come through this time? As Amish right now has moved up into the 2nd position, but we believe that he is on medium tires. He is running the first stint of the race on the medium compound, trying to make something different happen right now. maybe already coming out of pit lane. He is going to be well clear. It is not even going to be close between maybe and Scored, I don't think. And it doesn't even look like Amish will have a chance to lead a lap either, despite running on this strategy. Amish is not going to get a chance to lead a lap, so maybe might have the shot of doing a clean sweep today. Pole position, maybe fastest lap, we don't know. Potentially leading all the laps and taking the win. Yeah, that gap between maybe and Scored has massively opened up now. There you can see 3.5 seconds in maybe's favor. Scored, goes to the inside. Amish is not even going to try and defend against him. And even if he did, I don't think it really would be worth anything, because Scored on fresh tires and Amish on worn out tires, it's going to be a difference in pace of about 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds a lap. Interesting thing though, maybe making the tires last 15 laps, Scored only going about 14 laps in race conditions, means that maybe now has a tire life advantage basically to the end of the race. And also someone has gone off there. That is GRPK Golden, who seems to have gone off. He's still off in the dirt and slides right sideways in front of NFL. He tried to push the tires too far, and I think those tires are completely giving up the ghost. And what looked like a solid top 5 run is going to be completely derailed by Golden pushing the rubber too far by the looks of it. On my screen, it says he only has 11% in the fuel tank, 67% on the tires. I thought he pitted, but maybe not. Nope, he pitted, so it looks like we're having one of the weird hiccups where Forza is not properly telling us what somebody's tires are looking like. So maybe a little bit slower in lap time than Scored, but better on managing his tires, and has used that to pull out now a over 3 second lead on Scored Buffalo. Amish has already lost 2 seconds on Scored in just a single lap. He'll be caught by Neb here shortly, but again, Amish can probably go to about lap 21, then keep going until lap 42, and then throw on the softs late. Now, he's not going to have any pace compared to the people around him, sure, but he will have some wicked speed later in the event. So now we look at our leaders once again. This is maybe Racing at the head of the grid. 9% wear on the tires, 43% in the fuel tank. I look at Scored Buffalo, who is in second. He just slides into the dirt there. 14% wear on the tires, 49% in the fuel tank. And then PTG Neb, who is the third highest of everyone on that primary strategy. 14% tires, 39% fuel. So Neb a little bit underfueled compared to the drivers ahead right now, as he is closing in on Amish. Also, with Golden having gone off, this gives Prius nice clean air on the circuit going forward, so he should not have to worry too much about traffic for a while, because right now, the next driver who would be put a lap down would be Dr. Pepper, please, and I don't think our leaders will catch Dr. Pepper until about, what would I say, probably around lap 25 or 26. So I think our positions at the head of the field for most of the grid is going to be stable, but Neb really seems to be struggling, keeping the rear of that car under him right now. Still bringing up the fronts more than the rears, but it does seem like that rear is very squirrely. Might be getting a little bit too aggressive on the throttle through a lot of these corners here. Buffalo runs about 2.5 seconds behind Maybe. So again, Buffalo faster than Maybe, but then he gets to about 1 second and 1/3 behind him and then stalls out. He did not beat Maybe on the first round pit stops, and if anything, he lost a huge chunk of time. Maybe made that overcut work. Amish now in a position where he's going to be holding up PTG Neb. We ride on board with Neb as they go down the back straightaway into the heaviest braking zone on the circuit. You can visibly see how much better that fresher rubber works for Neb as he just closes right in. He's going to try and go the long way around Amish and runs right into him, right into that right rear tire. No patience whatsoever by the faster drivers here today. And something's gone wrong. Maybe's gone off. Maybe has gone off. In the same corner that Alex Palou went off at last year, Maybe just went off, and Scored Buffalo sails by into the lead. And as they come through the final corner this time by, Scored Buffalo will be the second driver to lead a lap, and Amish pits on lap 20. So he did not go as far as we thought. He's only at 50% wear. He could have gone farther, but he only goes to lap 20. So that's not good for him. That means he may have to run all medium tires all through the entire race. Now, he would make it a 2-stop race, but the thing is, everyone else is also on a 2-stop race, and everyone else has ran a bunch of laps on soft tires and will still likely make it to the end. Amish, this entire strategy and his lack of pace and his lack of confidence with the harder compound tire, that's going to destroy him. If Amish even finishes top 10, I would be very impressed. I think that has basically derailed any shot Amish had of a good run today. Scored runs ahead of Maybe. PTG Neb is 6 seconds off. Credit to Neb. He has found a little bit of time as this race has gone on. Relative to our leader, he's really only losing about a third a second to lap to our leaders. But he still has nothing for them. Even if Scored or Maybe had a big slide off, he is too far back to really capitalize. Prius Killer runs in 4th. I think the biggest question right now is, does Prius have a shot at running down PTG Neb for the final podium spot? Maybe now a second out from Scored Buffalo, and now Scored has completely clean air ahead, and he'll probably catch Dr. Pepper in about 3 or 4 laps, but as it stands, I imagine, and I think that's NFL who's gone off again. Yeah, I think NFL has had another slide off. He has now fallen behind to Fuzzball. So 2 of the veterans in the series, NFL and Amish, both having lots of issues right now with handling grip, and so is Maybe, although Maybe's sheer pace means that regardless of whatever happens, he is basically guaranteed a top 2 result, barring yellow flag wildness tonight. At how few cars there are on track and how spread out the field is, it's likely that's not going to play a factor, and that is Keen Racing Leo, who's gone off again as he comes to a spin in the second to last corner now. Not really sure what's going on here. He's not pitting. But I think Racing Leo may be now trapped in the position where now that he's gone a lap down, he has to move out of the way for everyone else. So he's constantly losing his rhythm. Every time he gets back on track, he's immediately being caught by another driver who's faster. He immediately has to pull off, and I think that may be breaking his rhythm right now. You're going to see Dr. Pepper and Keen Racing Leo come by here, and then right after that will be your leaders. That's Lit Racing Leo going wide. And now here come your top 2. Scored ahead of Maybe. And that gap is opening pretty significantly now. And only now do we see Neb come into the frame. And then Prius shortly afterwards. 5th place, DRPK Golden is another 15 seconds back. Now this might end up being suboptimal here for Scored, because he might catch Keen Racing Leo in the middle of a very important corner, turn 1. Again, even if Racing Leo tries to step aside to let the leaders by, it would still be very easy for just the positioning of the car to cause Scored to have to back off, jump off the gas earlier, be careful, more careful on the brakes, and let Maybe close right back in. But herein lies the issue, though. Scored has enough of a gap on Maybe. That likely won't be an issue. And there he is. He's already cleared Keen Racing Leo. So Racing Leo goes 2 laps down before anyone else even goes a single lap down. Maybe runs 1.3 seconds out of the lead right now. So Maybe led about the first 20 laps of the race, but a self-inflicted mistake at the start of Sector 3 saw him slide off circuit and give the position to Scored. So everyone, I think, on track has had at least one off-track excursion today now. So now, Scored Buffalo is going to catch Dr. Pepper. Mind you, Dr. Pepper is a little bit faster than Racing Leo. It didn't take as long for him to go a lap down as I thought, and he is still likely on track to go 2 laps down over the course of the race, depending on how the rest of this event goes. But he will want to try and stay ahead of the leaders if possible, because if something was to happen to the likes of Big Block farther up, Pepper might be able to capitalize. So does Dr. Pepper move over for the leaders on the back straightaway? Or does he run his normal racing line? Because if he pulls over for the leaders, it's going to be probably another 10 laps before they catch anyone. But if he stays on his normal line, Buffalo is really going to be held up here. And there's your answer. Pepper does not move out of the way. So Buffalo is now going to be actively held up for at least the rest of this lap. He's going to try and go the long way around and makes it stick. So very dangerous for Dr. Pepper to back out in the apex of a corner and force the leader to go the long way around. That's not how blue flag rules are supposed to work. But that's what's happened here. And a big slide by Dr. Pepper right in front of Maybe. Now, all in all, though, Maybe does still close by about a fifth of a second or so on Scored. But Scored has the sheer lap time, and again, it's going to be a nice big gap until our leaders catch any traffic again. So it does not matter. Most of the rest of the field is spread out, but you come back here, Fuzzball and NFL Racer are back at it. This has been the problem corner right here that so many drivers have slid off at. Right now, Fuzzball has it over NFL. The GRPK boys run 5th and 6th on circuit at the moment. Also, Prius Killer hangs out about 4 seconds behind PTG Neb. He has just cleared traffic of his own as well. All right, turn 1, NFL right behind Fuzzball. Got perfect draft on this short straight, but he's not really close enough to make a move, make a lunge into this hairpin corner. But that's Fuzzball wide, and that's NFL to the inside to get a little bit side pod to side pod contact. But on the outside line, Fuzzball can put the power down and puts himself right back ahead of NFL. Now, NFL will have the draft down the straightaway, but the straight is not long enough for normal draft-based overtake. It's almost like the front straight at a place like Hungaroring. There's just not enough speed. It's not long enough for sheer straight line speed and draft to give you the overtake. And now through these S's, it all comes down to who makes the first mistake. And there you are. That was Fuzzball who missed the corner. NFL very nearly spins himself out, but NFL is back in front of Fuzzball now. Again, not really driver on driver. It's almost always just mistake-based. That is the nature of Mid-Ohio. That is the nature of this beast of a circuit. Unless you're in something like an MX-5 Cup car, or something very small like that, you will not be seeing overtakes made on merit. They will be made off the back of other drivers' mistakes. Now, Maybe has got the gap on Scored Buffalo at about 1.1 seconds right now. Pindaz making his second stop already around lap 26. So with Pepper already a lap down, Team Racing Leo 2 laps down, and Pindaz making his second stop already, Amish might be able to just barely eke his way to a top 10 result, despite not having any confidence with his rubber by the looks of it. This also will put Pindaz a lap down, who'll be a third driver to go a lap down tonight. Does not look like PTG Neb or Prius Killer are going to be at serious risk of going a lap down today. But I think everyone from about 5th on down, so GRPK Golden back, they are at risk of going a lap down to our leaders. Onto the back straightaway once more. Amish runs a little bit behind Stinky Potato right now. Again, Amish running wildly alternate strap from everybody else. He's just running all mediums and just not pushing the life on them at all. Take a look back at our leaders right now on their tire wear. We believe they are on a medium. No, they may be on softs. 58, 59% right now for Scored Buffalo, and then Maybe right behind him. He's at 52%. Remember, Maybe pitted 1 lap later than Scored did, and they're about to catch traffic here. They have caught it, actually. That is big block that they have caught in the form of traffic. Now, Scored Buffalo was a little bit more prepared. He would have pitted, but it won't matter. It looks like Big Block pulls over on the exit of the final corner. So, traffic, no issue there. Maybe closes right back in on Scored all over again. Scored on the inside. Now Maybe looks to the outside. Again, Scored dealing with some tire fall off, and Maybe While his tires aren't perfect, he has a little bit of advantage. Now he works to the outside. Drag race between the top two. Maybe outside, Scored inside, but Scored has the car behind. They make contact. They contact again. 3 times they make contact. You're going to be in a dead heat into the braking zone. Who goes deeper? It will be Scored. Easily goes deeper. Maybe crosses him over. And now maybe gets his nose back ahead, but Scored has the apex in the following corner now. But maybe puts the power down and gets all sorts of sideways, but he's still alongside. Side by side between the leaders as they go through the S's once again. Both of them sideways and finally maybe backs out of it. But he's right back there behind Scored again. Scored drops tires in the dirt. Maybe comes back. He'll go to the outside. And he completes it. Maybe around the outside. Scored Buffalo. He goes deeper into the corner. Scored's tires are at 64%. He's paying this time by. So it looks like these two are going all softs through the race today. They are not running the mediums. They are running all softs today. And at the race's halfway point, this is their second round of stops. So maybe Racing went 1 lap longer, might go 2 laps longer this time if he really wants to push it, but maybe has gone a lap longer again. Buffalo pits, Neb pits, Prius Killer pits, GRPK Golden is way back here in the 5th spot. Yeah, the Forza telemetry is completely borked. We cannot see what Golden's actually on, but Golden is going to join them in the pits. So it seems like everyone here, with the exception of Amish, may be going all softs through the entire race, potentially. Because the medium tires won't last you to the end. You could throw on the hards, but you wouldn't have much, if any, pace to the end. So yeah, the ticker for the telemetry for Golden is borked, sad to say. So maybe Racing leads, and has completely clear track around him. For Buffalo, it is not clear track for him. That is Pindaz not far up the road from him that he's likely going to catch. So here we are, maybe pitting this time by. So let's take a look at Scored Buffalo and to a lesser extent Pindaz. Where's Pindaz going to be in relation to maybe? Where is Scored going to be in relation to maybe? Because while Scored is objectively a faster driver today than maybe over pace, maybe is turning the lack of pace into an advantage with managing his tires better than Scored is. Significantly better than Scored, might I add. So he's got a 1-lap tire advantage that he can push a little longer, and that lapped car, Pindaz, will be ahead of maybe. Here comes Scored, coming around the outside, and that is maybe who has just come out of pit lane just ahead. Scored's going to be faster than maybe on this short straight, but when they come out of this hairpin, the only downside maybe we'll have will be that his tires will not quite be up to temp, but they're going to immediately get to temp by when they get on the braking zone. That's Stinky Potato Paint out 5th now. But here we are. It's maybe compromised because his tires weren't warmed up. Scored's got the run. Scored is going to use slightly hotter tires to the inside, and he's going to not clear maybe. Maybe he's still there, and now maybe has the inside line in the final corner. He's washes wide. They're going to make no contact there somehow. Scored inside, maybe on the outside, one of the slower corners, and around the outside, maybe puts the power down, and he's through, and slides, and Scored goes by. Now Scored tries to cross over, there's no room. Maybe he's back in front, and that's traffic right ahead of him in the form of Pindaz. Maybe now Scored all over him. That's Pindaz, lap traffic just ahead. How is Pindaz going to have an impact? It's not like he can pull over safely. Pindaz is going to hold the inside line. Maybe he goes around the outside. He's clear of him. Scored still has not cleared Pindaz. And now he clears Pindaz just as they get to the final corner. Big slide by both Maybe and Scored as they come out of the final corner that time by. About half a second gap now between the two of them, but Maybe is back in front of Scored. So Scored got by Maybe by virtue of having tires that are already up to temp, but Maybe went deep enough under the brakes to deny Scored the overtake in the most important braking zone, and then it just came down to who had the better ability to control their car and manage traffic, and Maybe beat Scored on the traffic management phase. And now Scored is back to being 7/10 behind Maybe, but they have swapped the lead several times now. And again, this is not just the lead for this race. This is also for the championship. No one else realistically is going to be in championship contention. This is the fight for the title as well. If Maybe wins and Scored is second, that'll be a 9-point swing eliminated. It will be Scored leads here with only a 1-point lead over Maybe. However, if Scored takes home the victory, he will leave here with a 21-point lead over Maybe. That is what's on the line. as Big Block making the pit stop there, and that's maybe tires into the dirt coming out of the final corner. For the moment, though, it seems like this duo has calmed down just a bit, and it will be a little bit of time until they catch Stinky Potato, who will be the next instance of lap traffic. So suddenly, if everyone in the field is committing to just all softs all the way through, I have to wonder, is Amish maybe on a reasonable strategy, making it a 3-stopper with all mediums? Because he'll cut out an entire pit stop. Yes, he's not going to have anything for our leaders, not going to have anything for the podium, but Amish might still have something for the likes of NFL or Golden. Golden and NFL have both been quite mistake-prone. They've been faster, but they've been mistake-prone, and if they have to make an extra pit stop against Amish, Amish might still be able to clip them for 5th. As we continue to watch our top 2 drivers on track right now, we are going to go ahead and take a Twitch-mandated ad break, and as we do, we're going to spin the flying lap on board with Scored Buffalo, your championship leader here at Mid-Ohio. See what it's like when you're one of the fastest drivers trying to run down another fast driver here in the FEC Indycar Series. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Mid-Ohio Sports Cars course for the FEC IndyCar Series. This is Scored Buffalo, running right behind Maybe Racing. Championship on the line, race win on the line. Maybe has led the most laps today, but both Maybe and Scored have made mistakes. Scored seems to have more pace, but Maybe has better tire management. He is pushing a 1-lap tire advantage to the end of this race. Scored is not doing the same. Nose to tail. It's clean air right now, but they are coming up on traffic. That is the form of 9th place Stinky Potato, who we think may be on a harder compound tire. But again, blue flags means that sometimes traffic will be an issue, sometimes not. And that's Scored off into the dirt coming out of the final corner. Did a good enough job not losing too much ground, though. He'll still be within the draft of Maybe as they get onto this shorter straight. Can use the draft to close down. All right, down the front, not the front straightaway, the longest straightaway on the circuit. And here's the big question. Does Stinky Potato end up really causing an issue holding them up? No, he pulls off before they even get to the braking zone. But Buffalo is right behind Maybe. Now that is Keen Racing Leo just up the road. Again, he is on track to finish this race 3 laps down. Basically, nearly bumper cars between these two right now. Over the ridge. About 21 laps left at this stage of the event. Big slide by Maybe through turn 1. That's going to let Scored get right back behind him. Now Racing Leo holding the inside, so these two will have to go around the outside. And they make that work without issue as Racing Leo just stays off the throttle long enough to let them through. There's a long gap until these guys catch to Fuzzball, who would be the next driver to go a lap down. So these two have actually lost pace, spending all this time fighting with each other. Scored looks to the inside of Maybe, but not really in a position to lunge for it. So Maybe holds station over Scored. Now up to the most difficult section. This is a section that has caught out more drivers than anyone else today. No issue this time. Again, circuit. It's almost like riding a bicycle in your living room until you get onto the back straightaway. But even then, that back straight is not long enough to make overtakes on merit. You still need to have somebody being held up or make a mistake or have bad tire fall off. But Maybe is legitimately making mistakes. The thing is, Scored is kind of following him. It's not like one of these drivers are massively clean, the other is making mistakes. Maybe goes to the outside, Scored to the inside. But Maybe he's going to go deep into the corner, Paul Tracy style, and hold station over Scored on corner exit. Kind of rounding out the corner. And Scored kind of caught off guard by it, so that puts the advantage back in Maybe's favor. So again, Scored absolutely outright faster in pace, but Maybe has an advantage in tires, and he does not have to focus on cracking out fast laps. He just needs to be very annoying on his defense and encourage Scored to make a mistake. Again, last season, by the time we were 7 races in, Maybe Racing was so far ahead of the championship that he could miss a race, which he did, and still easily hold the championship lead. This season, Maybe has had to actually fight. He had a very slow start to his championship defense this year. 10th in the first race of the season. Didn't even make the podium in the third race. But he has had 4 podiums out of the first 6 races. Granted, all of them have been thirds. But he has used consistency to put himself up to second in points. And right now, he is running first, keeping the points leader behind him. There is a very legitimate shot that we could leave here with Scored Buffalo still in the championship, but only by a single point. Out of the hairpin, and now back down the straight again, the longest straight on the circuit. But Scored not close enough to make a lunge, not close enough to make a move this time by. And if these drivers are under the mindset that it's going to be all stops all the way through, they'll have one more stop that'll be on lap 42. Or about lap 42. Again, Maybe has been much better on tire management than Scored. If Scored could get ahead of Maybe, he would have a chance to try and open up the gap and then just let it naturally bleed off near the end, but that's just not been the case. And with it being clean air, that's not to say that these drivers won't make mistakes. We've seen plenty of mistakes by them, but it's a lot rarer to see mistakes when multiple of your drivers are all in clean air like this. If anything, I would think Scored is the one who'd be more likely to make a big compromising mistake because he has to push, he has to do something to get Maybe off kilter. Onto the longest straight once again. Maybe beat Scored in single lap qualifying. He's had the single lap pace. We've also seen him really utilize that single lap pace during the pit stop deltas, because these two have not been paying the same lap. There's been a 1 lap offset, and that has been another area where Maybe has been beating Scored at. They'll be coming up for their 3rd stop momentarily here. Arguably in about 3 laps. That is Dr. Pepper who is pitting, so he'll be the 2nd driver to go more than a lap down tonight. but the gap seems to be opening back up. Scored may have pushed these tires a bit too far. He's already at 52% wear. I look at Maybe, who's just ahead. He is at 46% wear, but what's that? That's a lot less fuel in Maybe's car. He's only got 14.7% fuel right now. Scored has more fuel, but is going to pit sooner, so Scored might be able to short fill against Maybe. So there might be a small positive in the bag for Scored here. Now, while we were away on our ad break earlier, Prius Killer got by PTG Neb and has just absolutely destroyed him. Prius runs third right now. Prius has been losing, compared to the top two, he's been losing about 0.4 a second a lap, as Neb has kind of fallen off as this race has gone on. Big slide by Maybe there. And Scored, tried to go wide, but kind of killed his momentum. That's Amish going a lap down. So Prius now up into the third spot. But 17 seconds out of the leaders, there's nothing he can do to this group. But the thing is, Prius is in his own fight with Amish Gaming and NFL Racer. Those are the three drivers who are now fighting for third in points. Now, NFL, no wins, but both Prius and Amish have wins on the season. NFL is there just off of consistency because he has shown up to every race. Prius and Amish have both missed races this season. Basically, the rest of the field is all pretty much spread out. It's really just this stalking battle at the head of the grid. Although Big Block is just barely ahead of Pindaz, and as they are on alternate tire strats, there is a possibility for that to change again. Reminder again, Amish on that two-stop strategy, so he has already made his final stop, we believe. Everyone else has one more stop to make, but Amish, we believe, on a two-stop strategy is likely going to pick up one or two more spots. But then the question will be, well, how much is he going to lose afterwards, just due to the lack of pace being on the harder compound tires? But now Maybe has really gapped Scored, this tire difference really swinging in Maybe's favor. So again, looks like Mid-Ohio is a circuit where it does not matter how fast you are. It helps a lot to get you into good positions, but what matters is your ability to manage the tires when you're this close on pace with somebody else. Tire management is everything. And now Maybe is just gradually pulling away from Scored. So this fight at the front is over, and we anticipate Scored will be pitting this lap, and Maybe will likely stay out one lap longer. They are just about to catch on King Racing Leo. Yes, as said, Maybe stays out another lap. Scored pits this time by. He'll have to make these tires last 14 laps. Maybe we'll only have to worry about them lasting 13 laps. The big difference, though, I think, Maybe you look at fuel, he's down to 5% fuel. And then Scored, he's just pitted now. He will have made a slightly shorter stop, but it would be slightly shorter on the order of 1/10 of a second. Maybe has over a second on Scored before this final round of stops. So maybe Scored, potentially, Scored could be a little closer, but it will not matter. And Maybe on track to win his first race this season. It has been a slow start to his championship defense, but he is finally putting it together. GRPK Golden joined pits. We already saw Prius has made his stop. Neb is making his stop. Golden's pitting. NFL is pitting. Fuzzball will likely be pitting this lap as well. Fuzzball at risk of going a lap down, but that is not a guarantee. Big thing, though, is that Maybe has clean air right now. Scored has to deal with a little bit of traffic just ahead of him. That is Dr. Pepper, who is doing his own thing, running his own race. But he's not really, he is a lap behind the drivers ahead, 2 laps ahead of King Racing Leo. So I imagine Dr. Pepper will likely move out of the way for Buffalo. Not really going to be interested in holding up the leader when he knows he's not in a position to take a position. He does not. He's going to hold his normal line. That will decide the race more than likely. Because any time that Scored may have gained being in being on fresher tires will be negated just by being held up in that corner and a half by Dr. Pepper. So that is going to be what decides the race. Lap traffic, although I do think the tire difference alone will have automatically given this race win to Maybe. So yes, scored faster than Maybe, but this has not been a race dictated by speed. It has been a race dictated by traffic management and preserving tire life. And Maybe has been far and above better than Scored at both of those features today. Now he holds a 1.2 second gap on Scored Buffalo. Now we've seen this before, and then Scored immediately closes the gap down, gets right back behind Maybe. But he gained behind him is one thing, passing him is another. And as this has gone on, these two, their mistakes, while they still make mistakes, their mistakes are becoming less and less egregious, less and less extreme, less and less intense. So things may still fall their way over the rest of this event. I think Maybe might be able to put up just enough of a defense to really annoy Scored here. So we're going to go ahead and ride on board for a lap with our pole setter, Maybe Racing, see what he can do here at Mid-Ohio. We'll be back shortly. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Mid-Ohio. That is Keen Racing Leo, who's just gone off again. So that'll put him 4 laps down as your leaders, Maybe and Scored, go right by him. As anticipated, immediately, Scored Buffalo closed in on Maybe. But now the question is, can he pass him? And Maybe has absolutely kicked Scored's butt when it comes to traffic management and tire life management. And Maybe already has a lap better tires than Scored. Scored needs to figure out a way by Maybe as soon as possible so he can try and open the gap on Maybe to the end of this race. If he's just stuck behind him, well, we saw what happened on the last stint on the tires. Over the last 3 laps, Scored's tires just completely fell off, and he fell more than a second back on Maybe. They have come up behind Amish, who is on medium compound tires. Amish on the outside, but Maybe is on the inside, and Amish is going to do all he can to not hold them up. And it is Maybe who gets the advantage again, though, as Scored still side by side with Amish, compromising his exit line a bit more than it compromised Maybe's. But the draft is enough to kind of negate that. Now this duo will be back in clean air for a while. Again, both these drivers made plenty of mistakes earlier in the event, but now their mistakes are becoming more and more minimized. They're becoming less catastrophic. Now, they have lost some of their outright pace, though, because I think they're not pushing 100% to get away from the rest of the field. I think now they're pushing closer to like 97%. Just jockeying with each other. 3rd place, all but guaranteed to go to Prius Killer right now. 4th place to PTG Neb, 5th to GRPK Golden, although he does have NFL Racer behind him once again. Now, between these two, NFL, his tires, 19.8% wear right now. We don't know what Golden's are at, but they did pit at the same time. So NFL has caught Golden again, so 5th place may still be up on the table for fighting back and forth. But these two are also going to be in clean air for a bit. It will be a few laps before they catch Pindaz up ahead of them. Looking back at our top two, scored close enough to follow, but not able to make anything on maybe. And NFL just got by Golden because Golden has gone off. Golden has gone off. Doesn't look like there's damage to the car, but a self-inflicted mistake by Golden. He's not only going to lose his position in NFL, he's going to fall behind his teammate to Fuzzball as well. And he's now just barely ahead of maybe Racing and scored Buffalo. So Golden, who's been fighting for a top 5 all day, may now go a lap down momentarily here. Again, these two are actively fighting for a lead, but the thing is, Golden can't just move over and let them by because Amish is not too far behind. If he just backs off and lets them by, it strengthens the possibility of Amish catching Golden before this is over. Oh, and that's scored off into the dirt. Nothing catastrophic, and he keeps the draft on maybe. Again, when you're behind, you can afford to make small mistakes like that because the draft in Sector 1 is strong enough to kind of negate the loss, but it does take away your ability to maybe make a big, bold dive, a big, bold lunge. Now, maybe close enough to Golden to catch the draft, so that really is a defense, but now maybe gonna be held up via traffic, and Golden is gonna be the fastest lapped car, or about to be lapped car, these two will have had dealt with all day long. He is of a completely different caliber than the other drivers these guys have lapped today. And again, Golden has a fight he actually has to do. We run board scored as he runs behind maybe runs behind Golden, but they've not immediately closed up on Golden right away. This is Scored's chance, but he has to make the move. He has to make the lunge. Because anything else is not going to cut it. There it is! That's the lunge! Here we are, inside, coming down to turn number 1. He goes, he holds it, side by side, contact just barely, and he backs out of it. And that will be the end of the race. That will likely decide the end of the race. Although there is traffic ahead in the form of Big Block, mind you. But Big Block was very extreme with pulling off earlier, and he is very extreme pulling off this time as well. So yeah, while there is 2 Fuzzball up the road, I don't think they'll catch Fuzzball before this is over. That was Scored Buffalo's last chance, that lunge to the inside, and he backed out. He did not charge in. He did not bully his way through like he should have, and that will likely cost Scored this race win, and more than likely, that is going to cost Scored the championship. Although he gets right into maybe's rear end in a lot of these corners, but now we're in the final stretch. The tire difference is going to really start showing in maybe's favor. Scored, he had a chance, he got alongside, he needed to go deep, and that's maybe why! And there's another shot for Scored all of a sudden, as maybe makes a mistake, but maybe puts the power down and gets right back in front of Scored on the exit, but Scored has the run again. He gets another shot, the same move that he did last time, to the inside, but he backs out again. He's not willing to commit, he's not willing to keep it side by side through there, and now maybe knows that he can be weak in the final corner on the run down to turn 1. Scored does not have the option to get aggressive. Scored not willing to get aggressive against maybe, and that is going to be a massive psychological advantage that maybe will be able to wield against Scored, not just for these last 6 laps, but also to the end of the championship trail. Those 2 moves were Scored, got alongside, and both times pulled out very defensively. He's thinking too much points racing, not realizing that he is not in a position of points race. He has to beat maybe lap on lap, race after race, if he wants to beat him in the championship. Those 2 times, and that psychological weakness, that will be what cost Scored this championship this season. I mean, obviously, if he misses more races, that also will cost him the championship. But as it stands right now, while he'll still be leading the points coming out of today's event, he'll only lead by 1 point, and maybe has gotten his mojo, he's gotten his momentum, and Scored that strong early season momentum that he had, winning the first 2 races. Gone. Eliminated. Onto the back straightaway again. This is the closest that Scored has been to maybe for a while. Maybe defends the inside. Scored looks to the outside. But we know there's not any reasonable chance that Scored makes a move stick on the outside through here. Again, the tires are about to start falling off massively for Scored. He had his chance and another shot at the same chance. Threw it away both times. Prius Killer going to come home third. Again, he is in a fight with NFL and claiming to take third in championship points. And with NFL back there in fifth, but Prius in third, that's 2 races in a row. Well, technically 3 races in a row that Prius will be ahead of NFL. So he is well on the way to making that stick. Neb in fourth. Was a very awful start of the season for him, but now as the field has slimmed down a bit, Neb's found a bit more of his momentum, a bit more of his footing. And this duo has caught traffic again. That is 2 Fuzzball just ahead, and Fuzzball, mind you, is being held up by Pindaz. Now, those two are not actively fighting each other for position, and neither of them are really in a position to fight other drivers, but that is the leaders just behind right now. So if they're going to let them by, they have to be cautious with it. They're side by side up ahead. They are not being cautious with it. This is Scored Buffalo's possible last chance. And there's no shot at it. Traffic for the first car immediately goes, and maybe Saver, maybe switches over the curb! Maybe he'll switch over the curb, and Scored gets the position back! Scored to the lead! And they're coming on line with 3 laps to go! Scored suddenly has a half-second lead over Maybe! A big twitch for the first time! Maybe made the mistake while navigating traffic! He just put the power down wrong, focusing too much on the driver ahead, and suddenly Scored is back in front! But the psychological advantage is still in Maybe's favor. He knows that he can pressure Scored, and Scored will back out of it, and Maybe will have a tire life advantage to the end. Golden, wide, in the hairpin. Now he'll cut down low. He ends up blocking Scored on the exit. Maybe's going to have a run on Scored. I don't think he'll be close enough to get a lunge on him, but he's going to have the run on Scored. That is GRPK Golden holding the inside, now going the inside, so Golden running a normal line. Buffalo's not going to have a chance to get back by. Maybe closes right back up behind Scored Buffalo. Now here comes the lunge. Scored lunges on Golden. That was the lunge he needed to do on Maybe earlier. Maybe follows suit. Maybe right behind Scored. They are just about nose to wing. And when they get to the line, it'll be 2 laps to go. Maybe has a tire life advantage. Will that be enough to get him back by Scored? Or will Scored put his championship run back on track? There is traffic ahead. That is Keen Racing Leo again in the slowest corner on the circuit. When they came up on him last time through here, they both had to go the long way around. This time, Scored Buffalo around the outside. He's by, and Maybe is held up again. Twice in a row. Maybe is held up by traffic. The gap opens to about 7 tenths. Now 9 tenths. About a second between Scored Buffalo and Maybe with 2 laps to go. So Maybe compromised by traffic at the very end. He has been Scored's better when it comes to traffic management all day long. But suddenly, he's taken his skills for granted and then fallen apart. And now Scored is back in front. He has a 1-second lead on Maybe Racing with just 2 laps to go here. Maybe still on track for what would be his best finish of the season, but Scored would open that gap back to a 21-point advantage over Maybe if he can keep this together. The big thing, though, is going to be tires. We look at Maybe's tires right now, 51%. We look at Scored Buffalo, who had to pit a lap earlier. His tires, 57%, and he may have a bit of engine damage as well. This is going to get very, very difficult for both these drivers. Scored is just going to be dealing with some of the worst performing tires that he has had all day. Maybe, though, has to figure out a way to get by. There is no more traffic. He's going to have to do this mano y mano. He has to do this completely on merit, and he's going to have 1 lap to get by Scored Buffalo. Honestly, I don't know if he'll be able to do it. I'm not saying he can. I'm not saying that he can. This is going to go down in the record books and in the memory for the FEC group, as 2 of the absolute best here are going to take their fight at one of the most technical circuits to the last lap. out of the final quarter, down this short straightaway for the final time, maybe close enough to have the draft on scored. He is 0.4 of a second out as they get into the braking zone, into the hairpin. He hits him! Maybe Dump scored! Maybe Dump scored! And then he backs out of it, gives Scored the ability to get the power back down. Maybe says, I'm not taking the position like that. So Scored gets back on it, maybe back on it as well. But now, because maybe backed out, that benefited Scored way more. The draft's gonna be a little bit less intense for this duo. Maybe closes in, Scored wide there in the heaviest braking zone, now to the twisties. If maybe he can get alongside Scored and just hold it for 2 corners, that should be all he'll need. But can he get alongside? These cars are big, this track is narrow and technical. They're coming up onto the most difficult section. This has been the car that has caught out more drivers than anywhere else today. No mistake by Scored. He almost dropped tire in the dirt, so did maybe, but nothing. They're going to be just about nose to tail. 3 corners left. Now they're coming down. It'll be 2 corners left through this long sweeper, the slowest corner on the circuit. Maybe looks inside, looks outside, can't do anything with it. Through the final corner, Scored slides. Maybe looks to the inside. He's not there. Scored Buffalo with his 3rd victory of the season, and the championship lead should go back up to 21 points over Maybe Racing. 3rd place is going to come down to Prius Killer. So Prius on a run of his own. It will be 3 back-to-back podiums, including a win. So a 2nd, a 1st, and a 3rd for Prius Killer here as he comes from what was a 8th place starting position, will come home 3rd. PTG Ned, by the looks of it, he is going to be able to bring his machine home in the 4th spot. And then 5th place will go to NFL Racer. 2 Fuzzball will be the first driver, a lap down at the end of it. Someone just went off there. Who was that? That was Dr. Pepper who went off there. But NFL Racer will come home with a 5th place result. But your winner is Scored Buffalo in a very tense fight between himself and Maybe to the end. Maybe got too confident and his biggest strength turned into a catastrophic weakness at the end. That coupled with Maybe being respectful, not too reserved, but being respectful, gave this win to Scored. And while Maybe might have the psychological advantage on track, Scored stands unshakable by the end when the pressure is at its highest. We're going to take a Twitch-mandated ad break. When we come back, we'll try to get some interviews with our podium finishers here. All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, gotcha.
All right. Are you able to include your audio?
Yeah.
All right. Just a second here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Our race is over, and what a very interesting race it was for a circuit that is infamous for putting on absolute snoozers of races, both in real life and in fiction. Today, we had a fantastic battle throughout the run. First, I want to go ahead and talk with our 3rd place finisher, Prius Killer. Prius, you gained a huge chunk of positions off the start. I believe you ended up starting. You were something like what, 7, 6, 7, somewhere around there. Ended up moving up to 3rd position. All of that having to elbow your way through. What do you have to say about your run out there today?
Yeah, through qualifying, didn't set a fast lap on my one lap. I wasn't clean, so I started 8th with only having my out lap. Um, it was fun going to the field. At first it was annoying because I was the only guy in the top 5 to be on heavy fuel, and so I could barely hold pace with Golden until the pit stop. Then afterwards I was pulling like half a second on him just because we were on equal fuel that time. And then was close on pace to the leaders, couldn't quite get them. Deb made a mistake, that's the main reason I beat him. I had pace on him as well, but not enough to necessarily say I should have beat him by that much.
Well, Prius, you are on a run. 3 straight podium results thus far. You came home second at Indy. You won at Road America. Now you got third here. You're in a fight now with Claiming Racer and NFL Racer for third in the championship. Do you think you can hold off against the two of them for the rest of the season?
NFL, I feel like I can have as long as I make all the rest of the races. Claiming it's going to solely depend on his schedule because if he shows it to a race, he's beating me almost no matter what. It's just whether he can actually make enough races for it to matter.
All right, Prius, great job out there. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us. Anything else you want to say before we let you go?
Damn, it's hot in Colorado right now.
All right, you heard it right there. Grand Coulee Hoover Dam, it is hot in Colorado right now, apparently. We want to try and talk with Scored Buffalo. He's having trouble staying in the party right now, it seems. Scored, are you able to hear us? All right, I'll get to you shortly. I wanted to go ahead and turn the mic to Maybe Racing. Maybe, well, it's not a third. This is now your new best finish of the season. But you dominated this race, dominated qualifying, and to come up short in the end. What do you have to say about it today, Maybe?
Just need to not get wrecked by lappers.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, I just need to not get wrecked by lappers. That's all. I put a perfect race on, put a perfect qualifying on, get wrecked by lappers in the end, and that throws my race out.
All right. Anything else you want to say at all about today?
I wish lappers would pay more attention when there's faster cars coming around. That's all.
I'm going to go ahead and say it. In defense, I don't think there's anything that the lap traffic can do. You catch them when you catch them. And at Mid-Ohio, unless you catch them in the straightaways, there's not really anywhere they can move offline effectively to, not be in your way. And you're not the only person I saw being compromised by it. That's just a nature of Mid-Ohio. You gotta manage the lap traffic and where you catch it. And in your credit, you did a fantastic job, but blue flags can only help so much when there's nowhere for lap traffic to get out of your way at least not in a safe, reasonable manner.
I mean, of course, but when you're on the inside of a car, that should mean that you can't just cut across and turn in on them and push them through to the grass on the inside of the corner. Nor should it mean to stop on the apex of a corner either, but that's what happened to me in the end. It's racing, I guess, but it's fine. Had a good race going. Good racing was scored. That's about all I've got.
All right, well, maybe right now he is down below where all the government cheese is stored in the salt mines in the state of Kansas right now after the race win was stolen from him late while navigating lap traffic. But completely reasonable after he dominated qualifying, led more laps than anyone else, but just came out short to this man. Scored Buffalo. Scored, go ahead, include your audio in the Xbox party. You seem to be behind all day. Behind in qualifying, behind in the race, made some mistakes. You really struggled with traffic for the first 2/3 of the race. And then at the end, you really seemed to find something. What changed at the end for you?
I mean, given my qualifying was my practice, I came in with, not really, I wasn't really too sure how the car would drive here. It took most of the first like half of the race in order to really find my rhythm. But after that, I feel like I was more consistent than maybe whenever it came to putting fast laps in. But being Mid-Ohio, you don't really have a lot of opportunities to overtake here. So whenever I believe the last pit stop came around, uh, I thought I was putting in a pretty good lap until I want to say around till what was it? I think the last corner. Um, I caught a lap car, and they were trying to get out of the way for me, but whenever that, or at least I think they were, but whenever it came to that, uh, we made contact. We were really slow coming out of that last corner, and then I think I lost like a second there, and that made maybe just pull away from me once he made the pit stop. So I couldn't be right there on him whenever that last pit stop came around, and being I was actually starting to uh, put more consistent, faster laps than him. It really spent like most of my time trying to catch up, or a significant amount of time trying to catch up to him. And I think if it weren't for that, I could probably have more chances to overtake him there. And then the whole lap car uh, incidents, and I was just lucky enough to not be not be affected as much um, when it came to them, or even benefit from the catching them. So overall, it was a pretty good race, whether I got second or first. But considering I got first, still a pretty good day. It's just not really the way I would want it to win it, though, being that the lap cars here were a pretty significant factor in deciding who won here at the end there. But it is Mid Ohio, so
I I do have to ask. Last season, when we came here, there wasn't maybe, but you spent most of that race fighting with Claiming. In that case, you and Claiming started at the back and moved your way up to the front early on. In this race today, you and Maybe were the two fastest guys. You started at the front. Do you feel that starting at the front made you catch traffic more often? Or do you think that there wasn't really a lot of difference from last year and this year?
I feel like it wouldn't make quite as much of a difference, because if you started at the back here, I mean, there might be a little bit of a difference in terms of how many times you would catch lap traffic, but being that the cars this season are more on the nose, a little bit more difficult to drive, with it being more of an oversteer than understeer than last season. I feel like that, along with the pace difference in the field, you're always just going to run into lap cars here. And it really depends on what happens with everybody else. And because if they're battling, if the lead cars are, running their laps basically all race, and then you have a tight battle for lower down in the field, and you're obviously going to catch them more than someone who's just running on their own, right? So I say it's about the same, really. If not, maybe a little bit more, or maybe just like a little bit faster if you catch them, or if you're at the front.
All right, one last question. This focuses on just today. In the last 10 laps, you had two circumstances where you pulled up alongside Maybe going into turn one. You backed out and Maybe held the line and had the lead out of turn one. It happened 2 laps in a row. What was that? Did you feel that you didn't have the ability to make the move? What did you think that wasn't a good time to make the move? Do you even remember what I'm talking about, actually?
Yeah, I do. I just got a really good run out of the last corner, and if maybe it has like not the greatest run out of the last corner, because I see he kind of spun his wheels there quite a bit. So whenever I got a really good run, I would put my nose there, or like I did that 2 times, make the move. But being that it was offline, I'm on the inside. I wasn't really confident enough to really just like stick it there hold the inside because the way with like how turn one works is that like once you go towards the exit, the car gets really tail happy, and I didn't want to if I wasn't either side by side or ahead maybe, then I just say I back out because I don't want to oversteer and make them go towards the grass or into the cones or anything. Because I thought that would be unfair. So,
Completely
and
reasonable.
I think
Not go on.
oh sorry, I'm just saying I think both times he was ahead of me going into the corner because that's just how the line is. So seeing that I didn't want to hold it like that.
All right. One last check. No hard feelings between what happened with you and maybe on the last lap, I assume.
No.
All right. Well, the good news is, with your third win of the season, you'll open your points lead over Mady back up. Will we see you for next week's events?
What is next week? Next week is what? Eagle Rock, I believe.
I believe that's what it is.
Let me see. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. I might be there for that actually. Yeah, I could do that.
All right. Championship fight still alive. Scored Buffalo opening the gap back up in his favor as we are crossed the halfway point in the season. Thanks once again, Scored, for talking with us for your third victory of the year. And with that in mind, I'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Mid-Ohio. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for tonight's event. We'll be back with X League on Friday and Saturday night, and then FEC Indycar will be back at the Eagle Rock Oval next weekend. But until that time, I have been your host for today's broadcast in St. Louis 13. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Farewell and goodbye, everyone.